Hey, friend, and welcome to Grate Conversations, where we talk about living well, meaningful relationships, and small practices to help you shape a good life. I can't wait to hear. Nope, we don't like that, but you can cut that. Hey, it's Dr. Tangie Great, and welcome to Great Conversations, where me and you will talk about living well, meaningful relationships, and small practices to shape a good life. If any of those things sound good to you, I want you to join this community. So remember to like, share this with a friend, maybe two, and subscribe. Come on, I know I got something good to tell you. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Great Conversations with me, your host, Dr. Tangie. And I'm so excited you're here. Like, I got an unexpected kid free weekend because AJ's grandparents came up to visit him. So, right now, we are filming this in the morning time, which I don't know about you, but I am a morning person. So, I am just energetic. The nerves are still there a little bit. I probably will always get nervous recording these podcasts, but I have my notes right here, handy dandy, and I'm excited to get in today's topic. So, if this is your first time ever listening to me, in this podcast, we break down very big concepts into smaller actionable pieces that you can, practice in your life. This time it is joy, and we are going over the five pillars of joy. We have already talked about support, we have talked about faith, and today we are talking about self regulation. And I really want to dive into this topic because I grew up with a mom who was basically, if she was born as a millennial, she would be a therapist. She practiced as a social worker for majority of her career, over 30 years as a social worker in substance abuse. And so self regulation is something that was practiced a lot in my house. And I realized that if you didn't grow up in that type of environment, and most children who are millennials of baby boomers as parents or other age group of parents, self regulation really wasn't something that our parents were talking about in mainstream media or anything like that. It is a very millennial thing for parents to want to self regulate, but it's not just for parents, it's something that we all need to do. And I found myself thinking that everyone knows how to self regulate naturally. And the truth is that everyone does not. And I truly believe that knowing how to do it is going to make your life so much easier, be able to radiate and access your joy. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, let's start with a little bit of science. You know, I am a pharmacist also. And so, self regulation is important because our bodies release stress. Um, let me back up. When our bodies feel stress, our bodies release cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And our bodies, you know how we see good stress, bad stress, our bodies don't, put a moral value to stress. Stress is just a change in the body. When you go from waking up to when you're sleeping at night to when you wake up, our body releases cortisol. Though that quick burst of cortisol is really good. It's like I said before, it's how we are able to wake up first thing in the morning, how we're able to push through those really hard workouts. Cortisol gets a bad rap, but it is not a bad hormone. Our body needs it. What makes it bad or inconvenient is when our body is constantly producing cortisol throughout the day and our levels are elevated. And because we are talking about self regulation, I am going to specifically focus on what happens when your cortisol is elevated regarding to your mood. So you're going to feel irritable, brain fog, everything just feels harder than it needs to. And so if your cortisol is elevated all the time, then obviously solving problems or being able to access joy is going to be harder for you because life is hard. And this is not for me to say that I believe um that chronic stress we need to eliminate it. I'm still trying to figure out a better word for how I want to frame it, and I haven't gotten there yet. But I think irresponsible and unrealistic to think that you're going to live a stress free life. Like life is stressful at AF for anybody, a person who's a millionaire, a person who is not a millionaire. Life is stressful. I think what we need to figure out is how we can better regulate our emotions to deal with the stress. Because once you master that, then it won't feel so hard. It will still be hard. You'll be able to acknowledge that it's hard, but you won't get stuck in that hard. And that's why I wanted to bring in this book right here, A Parent's Self Guide to Self Regulation. Sorry, A Parent's Guide to Self Regulation, a practical framework for breaking the cycle of dysregulation and mastering emotions for parent and children. This book was written by Dr. Amber Thornton. I would like to call us internet friends. We have not met in real life, but oftentimes we just see regulation as something that parents need, but it's not just for parents. And her book does such a good job of defining what it is. And so I want to read from her book what dysregulation is. So in her book, she defines dysregulation as a term used to describe a disturbance or imbalance in normal functioning. Dysregulation occurs in situations where something or someone is not properly regulated or controlled. And this imbalance can lead to irregularities or dysfunction. And that's her definition of dysregulation. And so many things can make us feel dysregulated. The TV being too loud and music playing at the same time, work, people expecting us to meet deadlines that are unrealistic. Kids are dysregulating as hell. So many things can make us dysregulated. If you're just a human being trying to be human, you are going to experience dysregulation. She next defines self regulation as a term used to describe one's own ability to achieve composure, equanimity, which I'm going to come back to that word because I'm not going to lie, I had to look up what equanimity means because I did not know, and balance in normal functioning. Self regulation occurs in situations where an individual is able to achieve proper regulation, self control, or optimal functioning. And just when I read that definition, I was just like, ooh, yes. Like, that is the type of thing that I want us to be able to feel and achieve in order to really get that joy because that's what life is about, experiencing hard things and figuring out how you're going to regulate your emotions. Now, the word that she used, which I thought was so amazing, was equanimity. And equanimity, basically, to put it simply, is emotional steadiness, which basically means that you can acknowledge that something is hard, so you can pause, you can respond, and stay grounded. You don't feel like you're all over the place. And I know for me, I didn't know how to describe when someone just says, like, I'm just a positive person. For a long time, I was like, okay, is this toxic positivity where you're just being positive, like aimlessly without acknowledging how you feel? But really, that's not what I was doing. I was experiencing the word equanimity, which I'm hoping I am pronouncing it right, which is like emotional steadiness. Like I'm still able to feel and acknowledge my emotions, but I'm able to make decisions from a place that feel really, really grounded. And nothing brings me more joy than when I'm faced with a problem and I can see how I would react when I'm dysregulated and then how I choose to respond differently. And I am not perfect. I very much still make decisions and reactions from a dysregulated place. Perfect example. Me and Anthony had an argument. What were we arguing about? usually it's about AJ. A lot of our arguments stem from parenting or like feeling attacked or something. And he had said something to me. Oh, yes, it was about figuring out how we're going to discipline him, natural consequences, whatever. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but something that he said, I was triggered AF, and he was like trying to repair the situation and give me a hug, and I like put my hand out and I was like, do not touch me. And it was an overreaction, but it's because I got dysregulated. I felt attacked. I felt like he was trying to come for me. I don't know, honestly, if I'm being honest, it felt like I was in trouble, which I don't know if any other millennials deal with this, but like I just felt like I was not doing a good job, and I did not like that. And then afterwards, maybe like 5 or 10 minutes later, I was thinking like, why did I just explode like that? Like, what about what he said made me feel get so angry? And I was cleaning the kitchen and I thought, and then I am proud of myself. Instead of just like brushing it under the rug, we were able to come back and have a conversation later. Um, and I had apologized, and I was like, when you said this to me, it made me feel, you know, a little bit of like shame that I'm not doing enough as a parent. And that's how you came off. And even though that may have not, and it wasn't his intent, let me not say it may not be his intent, because we love each other. His intent was never to make me feel that way. That's how I took it. And then he apologized and he was like, okay, you know what? Maybe what we need to do is come up with um things that we both agree on that are good discipline for AJ that we can both agree on. And then from that actual list of things, ideas, then we can critique that. Because I think the issue for me was feeling like I was being critiqued, and I didn't like I was being critiqued and I have no rubric, no grading scale. I didn't even know what to do. This is my first time, raising a 6 year old before. And so when he said that, that made me feel very seen and validated, because I am the type of person to where I love to have long-winded discussions about things. I want to get into it. I want to know exactly what the expectations are, because then when I take criticism, it doesn't feel like an attack. It really is just criticism and how to do things better. And so even though my initial reaction was very dysregulated, I'm proud to say that I think that some of the techniques, um, just from growing up, really did help. When I even were growing up, I think just over practice over time of really like sitting with myself. And as we discussed in previous episodes before, like really just asking myself, what specifically are you feeling? What is emotion, to get behind it? And I think that when I'm dysregulated, when I can really name that emotion, what I'm feeling, sometimes I need a feelings wheel. Like when I can put a name to it, it makes it easier to process, to explain how I feel, you know? Am I staying on topic? I am. Okay, so the next thing I want to go to is there are different things you can do to make sure or make it easier to self-regulate. Now, Dr. Amber put these 3 things in her book, and I think that they are very simple things. It's a chapter called Back to Basics that we forget about all the time. The first one is sleep. Are you dysregulated because you're tired? I know for me, if I do not get at least 6 hours of sleep, it's very hard for me to function throughout the day. I am dysregulated, my temper is short, and if your cortisol levels are not where they're supposed to be and they're always elevated, it's like a cycle, if your cortisol levels are always elevated because you don't know how to practice self regulation, it's even harder to get back to the basics of practicing self regulation, because you need adequate sleep to be able to self regulate. And so, really, to nip it in the bud, you got to make sure you're getting back to basics, like making sure you're getting enough sleep or addressing whatever the problem is, whether it could be you need to go to the doctor, maybe it's outside stresses in your life that are causing your cortisol levels to be elevated, but you got to figure out why or what is causing that first in order to get it there, because you can set your timer all you want to go to bed early, and then you're just laying in your bed because you can't, looking up, scrolling your phone, trying to cope to get to sleep because you haven't addressed the real issue. The next thing is hydration. Girl, are you thirsty? Do you need some water? I love the saying, drinking water and minding my business. I have feel like in my 30s, I have taken that saying to another level, because when I drink my water and I mind my business, I find that I am more regulated because I'm not worrying about things that don't belong to me. Um, I remember you know how that one meme that was like, get somebody else to do it? Like, that is what I think about when I am trying to stay in my lane and focus on things that pertain to me. I'm drinking my water and I'm letting get someone else to do it, because some things are like not for you to even worry about. Like, that's just not your stuff. Like, if someone is trying to put their things onto me, it happens all the time in the pharmacy. Like, someone clearly is upset about something that has nothing to do with me, but I automatically have my shield of like joy up, and I'm like, okay, this honestly doesn't have anything to do with me at all. So it's no need for me to, how when you get upset, your heart starts racing, you can feel yourself getting hot. I'm like, oh no, I don't need to do all that, because truly, this is a you problem. And being able to stay hydrated will help with that. And the next thing is breath. Being able to actually take a good deep breath. Like, just think about it. Something about just closing your eyes, breathing in, holding it, and breathing out are so important. It's the skill that I taught AJ very early on in life. And when I'm upset about something, he'll be like, Mommy, do you need to take a deep breath? Or if he'll see a friend that's upset, he'll be like, okay, come on, just take a deep breath. And it really does help. There's a book, I believe, called Breath that talks about how we're breathing incorrectly and just how focusing on your breath can make such a huge difference. And I think that's important. I mean, how many times do you notice that, like, you're all clenched up throughout the day because you're hurrying, you're rushing, you're trying to get all these things done. And really, you just need to take a deep breath. I know for me, seeing a lot of this podcast, I will stop in the middle of everything. Actually, you know what? We're going to do it right here together, because you probably are listening to this while you're doing something else. And I wondered, like, are you holding your breath and you don't even know it? So we're going to do it together. I want you to close your eyes if you're not driving. Obviously, if you're driving, don't do this now. Wait till later. But if it's safe for you to do it, I want you to close your eyes. I want you to take a deep breath in, hold it for 4, and then release for 4. How do you feel? Just in that short amount of time, I feel so much better. And oftentimes, when I'm at work, instead of you know how you just want to scroll your phone to zone out? That really isn't, like, you think it's helping you zone out. And it is, because you're getting that zone out, but it really isn't helping lower your stress levels, actually. Putting your phone down and just going and taking a deep breath. And as a community pharmacist, particularly, my job is high cortisol producing, dysregulating as hell. Okay, there's always at least 5 things going on at one time that are very dysregulated. And I had to learn, in order to be really good at my job, to kind of block out the noise and focus on what I'm doing, but also not feel stressed. Anybody who is a technician or a pharmacist, I take pride in saying that if they work with me, the my favorite thing to say is, it's fine. You know, that little meme of the dog where he's drinking coffee and the whole entire place is on fire. And he's like, this is fine. And for a long time, I was like, oh, is he in denial? But no, that dog is not in denial. He is experiencing equanimity, okay? Emotional steadiness. The world around him is on fire, but because he know how to self-regulate, it truly is fine. Like we are okay. And anybody who has ever worked with me knows that that is like my baseline. And so it's a joy to work with me because it truly is okay. It really is not that deep. And sometimes I feel like we make things deeper than they have to be when they really don't have to be that deep. So I say all this to say, what are you going to do to live well right now? Is there anything in this episode that you can implement about self regulation in order to live well? Of course, you need to go run and grab a parent self guide to regulation. Even if you are not a parent, you need to go grab it or grab it for anyone that you know that is a mom to be. I believe it's one of those books that you probably find yourself picking up, putting back down, picking up, putting back down. I'm not even gonna lie to you. When I first ordered this book, I ordered off the strength of I loved her. I wanted to support her any way I could. But I didn't think I needed this. I was like, I'm a regulating queen until my son turned 5. And when he turned 5, I realized that I needed some new skills, some things to work on. So I highly suggest it for anyone, buy it for any new moms. I know from now on, this will be something that I'm giving to all new moms in my life who want to work on self-regulation. And of course, we could not forget one great thing. Tangie is loving this month. And of course, we got more supplements. I don't remember if I talked about this in the last 2 episodes, but if I did, oh well, we're talking about it again because I love it. Black Girl Vitamins. They make the once a day gummies, which I love because how often do you find yourself forgetting your multivitamin? And omega-3, which has so many benefits. I won't go into details. If you follow me on any of my social media platforms, the Liberated Pharmacist, I go into detail about omega-3s, and there's plenty of videos on there you can watch that go into details about it. Or if you have any questions, feel free to drop them questions in the comment sections of YouTube. I'll respond to them. About when it comes to supplements. But I love these. I love this brand. This is unsponsored. It's just the first brand that I found where the gummies taste good. They're easy for me to remember. Now, the omega-3 do not come in the gummies, but they make so many more. I love them. There has been a lot of controversy around whether or not tablets are more superior to gummies. And like from a pharmacist standpoint, yes, are tablets quote unquote better? But if you're never remembering to take the tablet, then does it really even matter if it's better because you're not taking it? And I find that a lot of the supplements, you do really need to take them in the morning with food. For me, if I don't, it makes me feel nauseous. And I haven't figured, like, breakfast for me is something that I'm rushing. And when I need to remember to take my supplements, it's first thing in the morning before my whole house is awake. And so I love the gummies because I can just pop these in real quick, take them, and that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. And remember, living well does not happen by accident. I will see you next